Yeah, it's gonna be sweet. Okay. Yeah, we ready? We good? We're recording.
Yeah, we're recording.
Everybody's got headphones in. All right, right on. Welcome.
You don't.
No, that's fine. Welcome to the Effing Movie Podcast. I'm your host today, Dylan Camacho. With me, it's in the forest. It's Nathan. He's the man of the hour. Week one. It feels like longer. I don't know. All these days all blend together now. He could have been king for like years now. I wouldn't know any different. Also with us from our old studio is Price Bell.
With the tablecloth.
Yep. Oh god.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Classic.
And still in Iraq trying to save what's his face?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire. There we go. Trying to save Toby. That's Mason Rector, everyone.
That's me.
Yep. So, Price, you had to pick a movie to steal Nathan's heart.
I did.
What movie was that? Go ahead and tell us.
The Night is Short, Walk On, Girl.
Wow. All right. Didn't know you were pro women's movement all of a sudden, but
I know, it's weird. You wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah. But anyway, tell us a little bit about why you picked this movie for Nathan.
All right. So I picked this movie for Nathan mainly because I feel like you two kind of dropped the ball on the visuals, which is fine. But I thought that that's one of Nathan's biggest things. And I thought this movie really hits the visuals. It does a lot of different styles throughout the movie, but it wasn't near as hectic as Paprika, the last one I picked, but that was for Dylan. But yeah, you can actually digest what you're seeing on the screen rather than Paprika just shoving it in your face the whole time. And also I picked it because he's also liked a lot of romance-ish kind of movies. Not like heavy on the romance, but like it's kind of like a little side thing.
Devilman Crybaby. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not understand that comparison because they're
He
not
does.
similar at all.
He did it.
It's
He
true.
did that one.
Somebody watching this video is going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe you mentioned Devilman Crybaby in the comments below. Make sure to shout out Mason.
Anyway, but it has a little romance as well. It's more of like a cute romance, not like real serious. It's not heavy on it, but I thought for those two reasons, Nathan would enjoy it.
Yeah. As I watched it, I definitely felt a lot of parallels to Paprika. In the sense that it still felt pretty hectic, but I think part of that is due to the fact that it was subtitled, and they talk very, very fast in this movie.
Very quickly.
There's a lot going on. So at some points, I literally paused the movie just so that I could breathe for a second before it kept going.
Nice.
So yeah, I guess you could say it was a little bit slower than Paprika, but it was still moving. And
Yeah.
this movie went a lot of different ways. It was very entertaining at points, very wild. Just at halfway through the movie, it's a musical now. It's a theatrical stage production musical.
Real quick, do we want to, since you've watched it the most recently, do you want to give the quick summary of it? I don't think we've done that yet.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
There's three parts.
The main character doesn't actually have a name, right?
Otome, the girl?
No, that's like a term used to describe
Yeah, that's
her.
a term. Like that.
Oh, yeah.
I think the term for her is girl with the black hair.
Right.
Because I watched a little bit of just analysis on this afterwards, just so that I could better understand what was going on. So anyway, our main character, and to be fair, there's kind of two main characters because there's also the senpai guy.
Yeah.
She decides that she's just going to have a fun night and let fate take her where it will. And through most of this, the whole time, he's trying to I guess make this the night that all of his weaving in of himself into her life finally comes to a head, and his controlled fate brings them together. And a lot of hijinks ensue. I mean, it's ultimately these two coming together at some point, but there's a sickness, disease outbreak that happens towards the end of it. There's guerrilla theater. There's like a police state level librarian situation going on.
I think the more we get into those plot points, the more we're gonna lose everybody. Like I can already say that just you sum it up with hijinks, and I'm like, I think we just leave it there because the more we get into like each little thing that they are now a part of, it's just like that's where it truly gets very Japan-y. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just very like if you watch like any anime and it's like, okay, here's the normal plot line for the grounded realism, and here's all the stuff they add to make it interesting. Like, yeah, that it's.
But so much of this movie is interwoven. Like everything that happens, like at the beginning, you're meeting a lot of different characters that don't seem to be really all that tied together, but they're all very tied together, and every little thing that everybody's done ties into one another and what's going on in the overall story. Like the guy that she meets at the bar in the beginning who
the creep.
The creep, he ends up showing up multiple times, and like his actions end up affecting a lot of other people's plot lines in the story. So it's like, yes, it is complicated to say like dive into all of what's going on, but everything that's going on matters and weaves into the story in multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's a lot to take in for sure.
And that's so kind of off topic with like the synopsis because I think we're kind of rounding out on that part. But so did anybody else's subtitles blend in with the background like a good handful of times?
A little bit. Yeah, they blended in. Like I watched it on YouTube, and it blended in at certain points for sure, I'd say.
Yeah, I had a copy downloaded, and it was like white subtitles, which like I got 95% of the movie, but there's just like 5% of the movie where it's like there's just white on white, and I'm like, all right, looks like I'm speaking Japanese today. So like I was like, roughly, I'm guessing this is probably what they're talking about, and then I would get the context clues on the rest of it. But yeah, like I can't really fault the movie for that because that's more of just the version I got of it. Yeah, this movie, like I just want to leap in because holy crap, it is a visual thing going on for you. Like if Price wanted to focus strictly on like a Nathan trademark box, the visual one is checked so deeply into the paper that it's already the next 3 pages.
For sure. Actually, so speaking about like the trailer of this movie, whenever we all watched it, I'm so glad that it ended up being this movie and not what the trailer was trying to give us, because like this movie was actually pretty good. Like I was really worried that the whole movie was going to be this eccentric, like the visual style that the trailer is trying to portray.
Right.
And it was very much just a normal anime with some little snippets in between every few scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we got the better version that we thought. I don't know about you all.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it stayed grounded well enough to just be an extravagant like night out on the town. Like this girl was just like, I just want to get hammered and party, and then the partying just never stops. And it was just one of those crazy like over the top magical things where like they get to like the god of the library freeing the books and all that stuff.
That little kid.
Yes, that little shit.
Yeah, I really love the times where like her outfit changes, or she gets like random big accessories, like the big fish thing that she has on. And then
jacket.
The whole, like, the full Daruma costume, like all that. I was just like audibly like, oh my god.
And she just went along with it.
Yeah, this movie was very enjoyable, I thought. I mean, I didn't think that it was too crazy deep. I'm with you, Nathan, where like at the very beginning, that guy that was like on the computer that was the guy that the apple fell on his head, and he was orchestrating
Don Underwear.
Yeah, Don Underwear. Yeah.
I loved him.
And he played such a huge part in the second half of the movie, but like you said, it just barely gave you a taste at the beginning. There's a lot of that. The creepy guy, I can't believe they actually implemented him as much, because you thought he was a one-off as soon as he was a pervert, but no.
Yeah, and he's
there
like,
till the very end.
This person's dad, this person's that, like he's owes money to this person. Like, arguably he's like the most important character for the first half for like plot reasons. Like,
well, and he comes up so many times because also the scene at the end of the play when they both have fish drop on their heads and then like he's found a new love. Those were were the pervert's fish caught in the tornado.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So that just loops right back into him again. Like he is a very heavy through line for a lot of
Yeah.
this movie.
Mhm.
He was
So-
he was the chewing gum in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
No, we're
Dylan.
not talking about whatever the movie that is.
I get the reference, but at the same time, it's a little. I mean,
It's a little stretch.
it's stretchy like the gum from Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. I'll
Thank
give
you.
that.
We can move on now.
Okay, let's move on. So I would break this up into like 3 distinct sections because I think the first section you have them going out on the town and just like having a general good time doing the sophist dance or whatever. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you have the play section, of course, and then the third you have when everybody gets sick.
The sickness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all bring such different tones to the movie. Like the first one is just kind of like, oh, this is a kind of a lighthearted romp, and then the second one's like a musical about what this guy's misguided view on romance is, and then the last one is this very existential crisis kind of part where it hits really hard about like how he's just doubting himself and how he doesn't think that he actually deserves to be with her. And that one scene, like when you're talking about them like talking fast, this is the third time I've seen this movie in like 4 or 5 months. And that scene, like that part where it's like inside of his mind and it's him like rambling to himself, it was hard for me to keep up with because he just talks so fast, so fast, and you just can't keep up with it.
It's not even just him talking, it's multiple versions of him talking
Mhm.
and at points somewhat over top of each other. So that's what makes it with the subtitles to where it's
Yeah.
just a cacophony of stuff going on, which
It's really
if you
hard to
were a
keep up.
natural language speaker, you would at least be like picking up on everything with people talking over each other. I think it
Right.
would play a little bit better.
It's one of those things where like subtitles aren't really supposed to be kind of a part of the scene. Like it's supposed to be just like
Mhm.
nonsensical babble, but because they're like, English people are gonna get that. Just put a bunch of words on there, and I'm just like, oh god, it's a word vomit on the screen. There's so much. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like as far as like the 3 parts, if you would want to break it down, it does take a lot of different tones. I actually thought that the third one was the most interesting because that's when like some of the most or all of the truth kind of came through. Like she finally figured out that he had that Operation Aho or Aho appear
Mhm.
before her often sort of thing going on. But I don't know if you break it up into 3 different parts, it's tough to sit there and pick favorites and stuff like
Well,
that. But
we can try. What was everybody's favorite part? Because mine was the
Not-
second. Mine was the
not the
play.
second
I
one.
thought it was
I can't.
hilarious.
I think we're all gonna agree
Not
the
the
second's
second?
like, eh.
The second's mine. I thought it was cute. I thought it was
I
hilarious.
thought the second part was pretty fun. Yeah.
I thought it was.
It was a crazy ride, but it was a pretty cool
Hmm.
one.
I
right.
didn't like the final play of that whole part, like the one with the
Oh,
apple.
you're
and then, like,
crazy.
I know,
You're
I know.
Crazy.
I liked, like you said, the guerrilla theater kind of aspect where they just kept popping up tents and like they just kept doing it. That was cool, but the play was a little bit much. I actually really liked the third one probably the most, and then I really liked the first
That's
one
fun.
that introduced it all. So
Yeah, I think I like the first one the best, with the
I can see
third.
why.
The third being like it's just a great outlet. The second one, it's not that it doesn't like tonally fit, but it does kind of make me wish I had just more of the first and more of the third act, and then just a better bridge in the middle rather than what feels like an explosive second act in a very different way. Like
yeah,
I think they could have done something to tie it a little bit just more, I don't know, coherently, I guess. Like the story all makes sense, but just tonally more coherently rather. And it's not like I don't dislike the second act. Like it's fun, but I'm kind of with Mason on this one. I think the play at the end kind of does drag. Like whenever it's just chaos, like
because
I kind
really
of
like like you're rooting for the main guy and the main girl, and then in the second act it kind of really forced that other relationship, which I was rooting for, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But I didn't need a whole entire, topsy-turvy play with, not exploding fish, but, falling fish and all that kind of craziness. But this whole movie is crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just picking that part apart. But
See, and I think that's kind of why I don't like the second part as much, because I feel like during the middle parts of the movie, I don't really buy that I want this guy to get with this girl. Like in the beginning of the movie, I'm like, okay, it's a little creepy. He's like constantly bumping into her, but I'm like, I can remember being like younger and thinking that's just, if I'm around enough, maybe we'll talk and it'll spark something. Like, all right, it's like innocently a little creepy. And then the second part of it, it's like he's finding out this book that she read. And granted, like that's sweet, but then it's just like the extent that he keeps going to keeps getting a little bit more weirder and weirder. And I'm like, I don't know if this guy's a good guy. Like in the middle of the movie, I have myself guessing it. And then by the third part, whenever he's kind of having these like realizations with him and it's kind of grounding him, I was like, okay, I'm kind of back on board again. So I think for the middle part, it's just hard for me to buy like half of the movie essentially because that character's whole plot lines. I'm just like, I don't know if he should be with this girl. He's kind of weird now. But the eating the soba stuff, like,
oh that was awesome. I loved it.
Well, if you're tripping out, you're supposed to be seeing these rainbows. If you're doing that, and you're like, well, you can see the rainbows too. Like, that whole scene is actually pretty great. Like, that's my whole favorite part of the whole middle movie. Like, it's just,
that part was cool.
Yeah, that is hands down like some kind of racial art. If I'm gonna be perfectly honest, it's a touch on the racist side, but
a very Oriental. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of like how they did Jinx in Pokemon. They were like, this seems really racist. We should change this person's color. Like,
did they? I didn't know they did that.
Jinx was originally like a black Pokemon.
I know. I remember. Yeah. What is she now?
She's just purple. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but she was styled very not.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I remember. But
yeah. Anyway, fans, if you're young enough to know, go Google Black Jinx, I guess, of Pokemon. You can figure that out for yourself. But anyway, we're talking about this movie. Yeah, Soba scene's sweet. Anyway, you guys can carry on that thought. I just wanted to go back into that one because that was fun.
Well, as far as what this movie's trying to say, I feel like this movie does have a lot of philosophical points that it's trying to make. And
especially the time.
Yeah, the time is a big thing. The other big thing is something that I think makes more sense in the context of knowing that there is a show actually that follows a parallel universe version of the sensei character, or not sensei, senpai character. It's called Tatame Galaxy. And
I read that in the comments.
Yeah, so it was basically like a bunch of iterations of him like trying to figure out how to have the perfect version of the university experience. And like every episode is him like joining some club, realizing that that's not going to work, wanting to do it again, rolling time back, and like it does this weird thing with time where like even though he's like kind of resetting and re-experiencing different things, the stuff that he does in these other timelines start to like pour over into these new attempts at the perfect experience. But it's supposed to be this whole idea that he is trying to like grab the reins of fate and control exactly what his life experience is going to be, whereas our female main character in this story is just like, I'm going to let fate take me where it will. I'm just going to follow this night and see whatever happens. That's why like in the play she's just like, oh, you want me to be in the play? Okay, sure, I'll put a costume on. I've got nothing else going on.
Like, I already know the parts. I've already read the script.
Yeah. So it's, I think it's trying to say that that's maybe the better way to be, because things seem to just work out fine for her. Meanwhile, the senpai character is like pushing so hard to try and control a situation, and it's never working out for him.
Right.
Yeah, I get that. Any issues, any qualms, anybody? What do you guys think?
I love this movie.
I was kind of surprised whenever it got into the second half of the movie and it turned into a musical, because I was like, I don't normally think that Price would like a musical. So I'm surprised.
Notoriously not like great musicals.
Yeah.
Or I just don't like the ones you all pick because they're terrible. Like I watched Little Shop of Horrors the other day. Loved it. Loved that movie. So musicals can be good.
We know. We just don't see it that way.
The Greatest Showman isn't good.
Yeah.
No, I do not enjoy that movie. But I don't want to talk about that now.
Okay. But yeah, I was very surprised, and I mean, at the same time, this movie was just overwhelming me. So the fact that it started pouring into a musical too, I was just like, this is the craziest trip. So it had a lot going on. I think having like read a little bit more about it afterwards, I like it better for it because I get why it was doing what it was doing, and that it was more about like life philosophy, and that's a bit of why things went so wildly and we're just like constantly pouring from one event to the next, and it was just I don't know, it's just supposed to be a whole thing talking about, oh, did we lose
He's
you
back.
guys?
So, don't worry.
Okay.
Welcome back. He always does.
Just switch
But-
spots on my screen.
Yeah, man.
It's kind of like a celebration of what people's nights out, just letting the world take them where they will in a big city. Like, it's just a celebration of what that can be, I guess. Not that I've ever experienced that because I don't drink, so I don't really know what that would be like.
Yeah, and there's a whole theory on like, maybe she just got so drunk and this is just a kind of a
Like
blackout
hallucination,
experience. You don't know if
perception.
any of it, if any
Yeah.
of it really happened. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, that's partially believable in its own way too, because I think that tells both sides of the tales of like the grand luxury of like drunk nights. Like this feels like, I don't know. For me, it was like an undergrad night where you just said yes to everything. Like you're just like, I'm gonna say yes to everything possible and see where
She
the
says
goes.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it takes you just on this like crazy journey through that way. But yeah, I mean, I like the I guess the second guessing kind of gives you the overall like tone that it speaks to, and that it's deeper than the movie gives you credit for. On the first watch, I kind of was like, okay, yeah, I think that they're definitely hinting at a lot more than what I'm like picking up right now, because at the same time, you're just trying to process the movie and all of its visual. Like, oh man, I just remember thinking like anytime they drank, I was just like, okay, this part is Popeye, and then like this part feels like Pinocchio gone wild. Like this part is which I thought that like the little nods and appreciate like styles were great. But oh man, sometimes it just feels so busy. Like I think that's gonna be my biggest problem with it is just that while it's fun and it almost has that action movie genre thing where you kind of just want to turn your brain off and go on the roller coaster ride with it. So for the while I really like that there's more deeper meaning and more translations and things you could tie this to and this whole experience to, it's a movie that's so busy that wants you to go back and rewatch it again. But I'm like, man, I don't know if I have I'm gonna have to take heart med or something for to go on that ride again, because it's just a roller coaster.
You all say that about every anime.
No,
Like, I'm exhausted. It's because
No,
it's not like
every-
Pixar and you
every
can't just watch the movie.
No. Listen, I watched a lot of it. All right, so it's just ones where they're just trying to be so busy in such a short amount of time. I think it's with movies. Like movies' biggest thing is that they only have 90 minutes or so, give or take. There's Bailey in the back. And so I feel like they just want to make it like this just roller coaster ride of full-on anime-ness. And while I love that at times it is both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness to me, because I think at times it can just be too much.
Well, you think whatever. See, I thought it was fine. I loved how it was paced. One of my favorite parts in it is the last part where it's so chaotic and it's like all the yelling and the noise and they finally get to each other in that kind of dream world, and then all the noise cuts out and it comes back to reality, and they just have that moment where they're just kind of looking at each other. Everything's quiet. There's no music. There's no sound. And then there's oh, well, I think I'm getting sick now. And they just have that really cute, quiet moment together with some really good shots. One of them in particular, I remember was it kind of showed Senpai's eyes, whatever his name is, and it's kind of through his glasses, and it shows his eyes and his glasses in the same shot. And I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
But we should get on to the next segment before we
Let's do
run out
this.
of time on here.
All right, fat, big, perfectly fit. Let's do it, guys. Whatever. They don't want me to rehash it because we only have 7 minutes and 44 seconds left. All right, Nathan, what is the shape of this movie?
This movie to me was thin. I would like more out of it, but like I would like more out of it, but at the same time, I think it's fine as far as what it did. Like, I would say it's fit, but for myself, I would like to kind of get to know a little bit more of this movie because it did feel like it went real quick. Also, I feel like at certain points, I don't know if it was just the version I was watching or what, but I feel like they didn't animate a lot of frames because at some points it seemed like just the frame rate of the movie wasn't super on point.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a little side gripe. So yeah, I'd say personally thin, but it is a pretty fit movie in any other sense.
Yeah.
I think that this movie is very very fit personally. This movie, like, I'm right there with you, Nathan. I thought at the very end of this movie, either this movie took a lot of money and a lot of drawing, or it took very little money and very little drawing, and I couldn't figure out which. But I think for what that they were trying to give you, I think that they nailed it. It's a very strange concept, and it was told a strange way. And this was like a kids movie, I thought. Like they were kind of advertising this as like a kids-ish movie. And
With
she
all
was
the
just straight up.
drinking?
Yeah.
A lot of drinking and a lot of booze.
A lot of drinking, yeah. Yeah. But all in all, I thought it was good.
So, one quick aside, talking about boobs, I'm pretty sure for like 5 seconds they showed a rock climbing gym and all the holes in the walls were boobs.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that there were boobs. Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
Children's movie.
Yeah.
Good job, Japan.
Yep.
Thanks,
Keep going.
Gotta put it
You do
in.
you.
Yeah, this movie's pretty fit. Like, the runtime felt appropriate to all the movie. I think if we're looking at the storyline stuff, nothing feels like it drags on too long. Nothing feels like it's too short. I think it did a pretty good segment on there. I mean, in the middle, like I said, I do kind of wish tonally it was more like point A to point B instead of point A, point B to point C. But yeah, overall, I mean, it definitely doesn't overstay its welcome at all. And it's definitely not a short movie, but it's just like right out where it needs to be on it. So not really much else to say on that.
Yeah.
See, I know it's fit. I just wish there was more. It's not thin by any means. It's just I just wanted more. I just wanted more of that world. I wanted more of those characters. I wanted more of what was going on that night.
Well, watch Tatome Galaxy because a lot of the characters in this movie are in that show.
Really?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this is a
I'll
pretty
look into
new
that.
movie. Like, they could very well come out with another, sequel or something. I mean, it's only 2
Sequel
years
or
old.
just extend the series or whatever like that. But yeah, I mean, if you want more of this movie in the comments below, make sure to go check out Tatome Galaxy. We're going to keep on moving forward because we are on the clock. So I guess let's hit the scores then, and then we'll move on in and transition out to next week. Price, let's go in reverse order this time. You go ahead.
Works for me. I was really thinking about how much I like this movie, how I don't have a gripe with it. I love every segment of it, how I've seen it a bunch of times since like 4 or 5 months ago when I first started watching it. I bought it. This is not going to be used because I'm going 9.5. I thoroughly enjoy this movie. I don't feel exhausted watching it personally. I think every segment, every plot point has something to say. And I think it's like, if you take it, like Nathan said, like away from face value, it has a lot to say about like enjoying the time that you have, enjoying the people that you're like, that's around you, and like not just going, because it says that like moving forward, like they compare her to a train a lot, just going forward and just chugging and going and going and going, which is why like her favorite book was that book about a train. And then it also has a lot of critiques about the senpai guy who's trying to control everything. And like, I want to make it like by chance or something that we meet, not coincidence.
Yeah.
And it has something to say about both of those, and that there's a middle ground that you need to have to fully enjoy everything. So 9.5 for me.
Dylan?
I think I put this movie right at a 7.5. I enjoy the movie. It's a totally fun ride. I like the themes that it presents, and it does create one of those interesting, long, more deep philosophical looks and things, which I appreciate for like the rewatchability. But for me, I just didn't connect with it enough to want to say, man, I can't wait to like slam this in and just watch this again for a second time because of like the rewatchingness of it.
Slam it in.
Yeah.
Put it into play.
Slam it in there. Break the disc.
Yeah, it's for that reason I put it right at 7.5. If I like immediately wanted to go back and rewatch it and say, man, there's so much to like want to re-dig into it that like I want to do right now, I would put it like an 8 and higher. But it's just falls short of that for me right now, just because it felt very it was busy and exhausting at times, and like I said, well, most of the time it's a really fun ride for it. Some of the times it was a little draining for me. So yeah, I put it right at a 7.5. But I did like it. Totally good movie, really fun. Mason.
Yeah, so for pretty much all of your points that you just said, I'm going to give it an 8 because I couldn't look away. Not that I could because of all the subtitles, but I was very much enveloped into this movie, and like I said earlier, it was so much, I guess, better than I thought it was going to be. And as it was exhausting, I do think that I'll watch it at some point, like maybe this year. I don't know. You guys know how I am with animes, and I think that this one did it pretty darn well. It wasn't too heavy. It was very light, but it was, I don't know. There's a good story behind it, and they kept my attention with all the pretty pastel color. It wasn't even pastels. It was almost like neons and
Yeah.
It was all over the
craziness.
place with color
Yeah.
palette.
It
It
was.
changed a lot.
Yeah, so an 8 from me.
I think I am going to land at an 8 as well.
Ooh.
That's what I was thinking, Dylan.
This is bad news, fellas.
Yeah.
It's a solid movie. I want to see it with dubs for sure because it's
They don't
intense.
exist.
Yeah.
Not
Unless we did it ourselves.
yeah,
Could be
it
done.
doesn't exist yet. If they do ever do release it with dub though, I'm gonna need to go back and rewatch this movie because I think it would be a much more pleasant experience for me. Because I don't really vibe super well with having to read subtitles. And,
I know you don't.
And just the sound of people's voices sometimes get a little grating. Paprika is a good example of that one.
Paprika, I totally get. It's an assault on the senses, as we said in our review.
It was cacophonous. So, yeah, I mean, this one's an 8, and I guess that does lead into me picking.
Yeah, but we have to do it
recording
first.
right now.
Yep. And we're back. So Nathan, who's your hands for stitching all this video back together? And go.
The magic hands.
Okay, so after having discussed our scores on this particular movie, it's I guess time for me to pick which of our 3 this month is the winner.
We get to pick as well.
You all will be picking first.
Yeah.
So we had 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Uh-huh.
Is that right? Sing Street and The Night Is Short, Walk On Girl. Those were our 3. And they are our flowers.
Yeah.
They're still here.
Of course they are. Where else would they go? Right? They can't move.
Those are everlasting flowers.
Right.
Those are beautiful.
Mason, you wanna start us out with your pick for the month?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with The Night Is Short, Walk On Girl. I think it was a breath of fresh air. For my expectations versus what actually happened, it was great compared to everything else. So I'll pick that movie.
Okay. Price.
Surprisingly, this is kind of tough for me because I like 3 Billboards, whatever. But thinking more on Sing Street, like I did enjoy it, but I'm not gonna make that too crazy of an upset because Sing Street still at its core is a teenage romance. I was gonna say rom-com, but it's really not. So I'm not going with Sing Street. I'm gonna have to go with 3 Billboards. If I can't pick my own, which obviously I love, but Sing Street still had a lot of things I like that I didn't like in it, and 3 Billboards had a lot of stuff that I did like, especially namely Woody Harrelson's character actually being a character that you sympathized with rather than just being a piece of garbage.
The only character that you sympathize with.
Yeah, and I like that. Because you expect to not like Woody Harrelson. You're like, oh, this lady's gonna get the man. Like he's not trying her daughter's case, and he's a piece of garbage. And he's like, we really tried. We did everything. So,
please understand, lady. We're
Missouri
he's like,
town.
Right.
Okay, so 3 billboards for me.
Man, I'm gonna make this real strange for everybody then. I think
Don't
I'm
do it.
inclined to want to pick my movie, but if I'm not going to,
We're not allowed anymore.
yeah, I know. And it's
Believe me,
between-
you've done it plenty.
I
listen,
know I have.
if I'll stop picking my own movies when I stop picking bangers, okay? Like, but interestingly enough, yeah, I'm going Sing Street, guys. Like,
Oh no.
I'm telling you right now, great, thanks, Caesar, thank you.
Of course he's eating.
Of course, he's eating right
Just
now.
letting you all know. Yeah.
So yeah, Sing Street. It just, man, the music does so much for this movie to give it carrying weight. And teen dramas, I notoriously really like. I thought it was fun and charming and interesting, and I think it punches a little less. Like, it's definitely not my favorite like teen drama by any means. Like,
Shouldn't be.
It's not. That's not its strongest point. The music definitely is, but the music is so good when tied in throughout the whole movie. And I love Nathan's point whenever he brought it up. He was just like, this movie could have tried to be so much extra. It could have tried to do band drama, could have tried to do this stupid thing, but it didn't. It just stayed on track. It was clean, simple, very fit, and man, I want to praise it for that. So I'm gonna give it my pick for this week, this whole summer.
You're gonna give it the Dylan seal.
Yeah, I am, man, because I've been at least 3 or 4 of those songs have been on my Spotify playlist recently. So man, I don't
Same
know.
here.
Yeah, it's
By far the best part of the movie, especially the beginning half songs, bangers.
Yeah.
Until it gets to Drive It Like You Stole It, hits it, and then it just goes right into the dumpster.
yeah, got a couple more on there than that, but all right.
I
But
don't know about that.
last but furthest from
The most important. Here you go, Nathan. Give these away
Hey,
to
can I
whomever
also
you desire.
say real quick that I feel like this 3-week period was possibly the best
yeah,
out of all of ours that we've tried. Because,
Easily.
I mean,
Mine was terrible.
I
You all
don't
suck.
feel like any of ours have been good except for Nathan's
right.
3-week period. And
Yeah.
And we've all
I
enjoyed each other's movies. Like,
Yeah.
I even kind of like Sing Street a little bit. And you
Yeah,
all
I
like
liked an
Night
anime.
Short, surprisingly. Yeah, you liked
How
an
weird.
anime.
No,
And
it's
Nathan, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Nathan's given 8s to all 3 of these movies, so it really is
Three
like the
eights.
purest contest at this point. But like, yeah, I want Nathan later to go pull up the statistics and just see how much worse we were in our months compared to our normal picks. Like, holy, we averaged about here. These picks were the ones that we specifically picked for. These ones were way down here. With
Now,
Nathan,
Nathan,
I think, yeah, we actually crushed it.
Yeah.
I also should say, I think that you should also take into consideration who picked movies more tailored towards you.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, this is where he's going to
Because
try to
that's the whole point.
No.
That's the
All right,
whole
Bryce,
point.
go ahead and beat yourself.
Yeah.
Nathan, you
But-
go ahead. You
Look,
rated 3/8.
I do agree with Price's point. I will say, though, that every one of these movies I think is pretty justified as being picked towards me. Like, Sing Street is 100% a great choice. It is a teenage, like, love
Fight the
story
man.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
which is great. It's got the angst, you know. It's got your it's got really good music to it. It's got that musical side of things that I enjoy.
yeah.
3 Billboards. 3 Billboards was like the angstiest possible movie.
Yeah,
Like firebombing a police station is a strong statement.
Couldn't get
No
more
symbolism needed.
Listen, I wanted anti-establishment checkboxed on it, and fighting a police all movie couldn't get that any offer.
Yeah.
And then we
yeah,
got to a
so-
much more subtle movie.
Nah.
No?
And paprika or paprika. Gosh.
Uh-uh.
No,
No,
that's
that's
not
not
what
it.
that was. That was not that one. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl is definitely strong visuals. And it also has the musical part. The musical part of it was wild and intense, but it was still a pretty enjoyable experience overall. So yeah, it's a very hard choice because every one of these is completely justifiable to win. I think I really should have spent a little bit more time considering this.
Yeah, because you just watched Price's movie like what 40 minutes ago or something, or
Yeah.
Yeah, like an hour ago. an hour ago, and then I watched like 30 minutes of videos like explaining what it even was.
Right.
Which
Has any movie prompted you to think more about it or do anything afterwards? Like
You
that
quit trying to
movie?
milk it. You let this man get to his natural conclusion.
Oh, I'm milking. I'm milking.
He's trying so hard because he's the only one who hasn't won so far.
I want it. I won.
Man, you know what? I do think I am gonna give it to the Night is Short Walk On because
Hey.
How ironic.
for one thing, the flowers are already there, so convenient.
True.
But that was interesting, and I don't want to hold against it the fact that subtitles are very frustrating to get through a lot of times for me because I'm a very distracted watcher. I cannot just sit and watch a movie. I'm really bad about that, and that is no fault to a movie ever. So I'm going to ignore the fact that it had subtitles, and it was still a pretty cool movie, if a little crazy over the top at points.
I've been waiting to pick this movie for a while.
Yeah. I mean,
it was time.
It's been almost 2 months since we saw that trailer for it. So it's been a little bit.
We were still meeting in person, guys. So
yeah, that's 45
crazy. Days.
Yeah,
that was before the apocalypse.
Yeah.
The irony that Nathan picked Price's movie here is just incredible. I love it personally. I think it's great. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Yeah.
I know, Nathan, if only I could have given it to you during my month. But what did you pick again?
The Fountain.
Speaking of good soundtracks.
Gosh.
I picked the movie you have rated the lowest ever.
I hate
that
movie.
You know what, Nathan? If you couldn't pick the highest movie, I'm glad that you picked the one that you could possibly pick the lowest.
I mean, yeah, I'm impressed that I found the worst movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because from the outset, that movie seemed like it would check boxes for me. I do like Hugh Jackman. I do like dramas. It had a very unique concept that I thought could have been executed well. And the fact that I wanted it to be up here and then it fell so hard made me hate it even more because it had potential.
Yeah.
It put a crater into the earth how hard it fell for Price.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to literally kill Hugh Jackman with light just to get the coronavirus out of his body.
We got to inject it. Inject the light. Yeah, exactly. And then we got to
maybe even UV, but definitely not bleach in that one. I don't know. Well, maybe unless the tree was spitting out bleach.
Okay, so we'll wrap up here. I won Nathan's month with The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. So what was everybody else?
Nathan won my month with Legend. There we go.
Dylan won my month with Good Will Hunting.
You know what? Everybody have your turn.
I just wanted to restate everything. That's how that happened.
And then Nathan won for who?
Me.
With what?
Oh wait, no.
I won Dylan's.
Yeah.
So
isn't there one more?
Yeah, it's you.
And then Price won Nathan. It's been so.
I won Price over.
Yeah, and Mason won Prices. Yeah.
With what?
Train to Busan.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, I knew there was one more. Oh, yeah, that was a good movie. Solid movie.
Oh yeah, that was great. That one, the subtitles were completely fine for some reason.
Which is odd because there's a lot of combat and stuff, but it does go slower. As in the dialogue and stuff, it goes a little bit slower.
Yeah, they speak like a drama, but they want it to move like an action. So
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, as we start to curve out for all of us trying to impress each other and usually failing up until this last couple tries here, we're going back to our normal regular schedule.
No theme.
No theme. We're throwing the theme out. We've been doing theme parties for too long. We're throwing the themes out. We're just trying to survive now. Everything's fine. So, with that in mind, next week we're going to be starting a draw one. I'm back. I got all the power again.
Can't wait to see this main character with no hair.
Yep. Which means we're going to be watching a little Shia LaBeouf movie called. No, we're not. We're gonna watch Tenet in theaters. We're going to Corona. No. Doesn't come out until July. We'll talk more about that later. But now we're gonna watch Honey Boy, boys. We're gonna
Honey
watch
Boy.
it. It's like Honey the Pooh or Winnie the Pooh. I heard it's a little
Honey
bit
Yeah.
darker.
the Pooh.
Yeah, Honey the Pooh. Honey Boy, starring Shia LaBeouf doing Shia LaBeouf's dad, phrasing.
Very much phrasing.
Yeah, don't look too much into that. Anyway, that's our show, everybody. If you want to see Shia LaBeouf do his dad, in the comments below, do not follow or subscribe to this channel. You do not need to belong in here. If you thought that Price's win was fair, make sure to let us know who would have you picked if you watched these movies. Which was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like this content if you want more of it, because we're gonna do only this movie stuff on here. And hit the bell if you want to know when we're gonna do the next one. Anyway, guys, that's our show. Tune in next week for Honey Boy. Honey Boy.
Happy.
All
Honey
right.
Bailey in the house.
Bye.
Bye. Nathan, hit the record button again. Turn it off.